Hello everyone, I am the Desert Gardener, and today we're going to be talking about bugs, specifically how to tell the difference between a beneficial bug and a pest, and what to do about each. So, I've got my tea, let's talk about that. So there are literally millions of types of bugs in the world. So I obviously can't talk about every one. So I'm going to restrict this video to just the ones that are the most common in the desert areas where I live. And I want to start out by talking about the beneficials first. So first let's talk about the lacewing. Now it's a beneficial bug. It eats other bugs, mostly aphids. So it's a great thing to have in the garden. But it's important to know what they look like so you can not hurt or damage them, but it's also important to know what their other stages are like. For example, the larval stage and the egg stage. See, the eggs of the lacewing are actually kind of creepy looking. In fact, I made the mistake once. I came across some lacewing eggs and I saw, to me it was just insect eggs, so I destroyed them. And then later I looked them up online and went, oh no, that was an egg to a beneficial bug, so I should have left that alone. So it's really important to know what not only the adults look like, but the larval stage and the eggs look like. And there are apps out there that'll help you with that. So you can go on your phone and download different apps, take pictures of the bugs, and it'll tell you about them. And I really recommend doing that. I think that'll be very helpful. So what do you do if you see lacewing eggs in your garden? Well, first off, like I said, you're going to want to leave them alone. But because they eat aphids, there's a good chance that you have aphids and you don't know about it. The adult lacewing is going to lay their eggs someplace where they know their offspring are going to find food. So if you see those eggs, start looking for aphids. Now we'll talk about aphids more later. The next thing I wanted to talk about is ladybugs, or lady beetles. Now most everyone knows what a ladybug looks like, and they know that they're a beneficial, they eat other bugs. But do you know what the larval stage looks like? It kind of looks like a creepy little alligator. So if you see that, again, you're going to want to leave those alone. Same with the eggs. You're going to want to leave those alone as well. You want them to hatch, you want them in your garden. Now, ladybugs are one of those things that you can also purchase online. They'll send you a package and you release them into your garden, and the idea is they'll eat the insects in your garden. The problem is it doesn't really work that way. Studies have shown that because ladybugs fly, they don't really stay around very long. So you release them and the vast majority of them will fly away in just a matter of a few days. So it's probably not really a good idea to do. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the praying mantis. Now again, most everyone knows what a praying mantis looks like, and that they are beneficial and they eat other insects. But do you know what their egg sac looks like? Their egg sac is kind of weird and creepy looking again. So it's important that you know the different stages and what these things look like, because if you kill off the eggs, then you're not going to get any adults. And it's important to have those. Now the praying mantis is also another one that you can purchase online. Now this is probably a better idea because most praying mantises don't fly. So if you release them in your garden, there's a better chance they're going to hang around for a while and eat other insects for you. So that's a better option. And the next thing is the hoverfly. Now hoverflies also eat aphids. So if you see them, again, you're going to want to leave them alone, but you're going to also want to check your plants for aphids. And the next one is worms. Again, everyone knows what a worm looks like and that they're a beneficial. They aerate your soil and they poop out fertilizer, so they're really a great thing to have in the garden. However, there is one type of worm that is not a beneficial, and that's the Asian jumping worm. And you can easily recognize it by the white stripe that it has around its neck. Now, fortunately, this particular type of worm isn't native to most places in the United States. But the main reason I wanted to mention it is there are companies that will sell this type of worm for bait. And there are lots of gardeners that will recommend purchasing worms and releasing them into your garden or into your compost pile. but you have to make sure that you're getting the right type of worm. So stick with the earthworms, the night crawlers, and the red wigglers, and definitely avoid the Asian jumping worms. Look for that white stripe. If you see that, definitely kill them, get rid of them, don't purchase them, don't put them in your garden. They will cause problems. Now the next one is something I've talked about quite a few times, and that's birds. Birds are definitely a beneficial creature in your garden. Many types of birds can eat their weight in insects in just a matter of a day or two. So they're definitely a good thing to have in your garden. Now, as I've mentioned before, some people will complain, well, birds are pecking at my tomatoes. Well, again, birds don't peck at your tomatoes because they're hungry. They peck at them because they're thirsty. So give them a bird bath with some clean, refreshing water, and they're going to leave your tomatoes alone. You can probably see in the background I have a bird bath right back there. I talk about it all the time. I love watching the different birds that show up, and they leave my tomatoes alone. But one thing I haven't talked about, and that is the size of birds. Not only do I get the little sparrows and blue jays and things like that, but I also get a lot of very larger birds like crows and hawks, and they eat rodents. So mice and rats and even gophers and such like that. So having a bird bath is probably one of the most beneficial things you can put into your garden. So I highly recommend that. So the next thing I want to talk about is bees. So of course most people know bees are beneficial. They help pollinate, but pretty much anything that flies will pollinate. Even wasps, flies, butterflies, they'll all pollinate. And the best way to bring those pollinators into the garden is by planting flowers, especially things with very large flower heads like daisies. Especially if you've got different colors, they'll attract different types of insects. So planting flowers around your garden and around your yard will really attract those, and it's really a good idea. The next thing is spiders. Now I know most people don't like spiders, but spiders are a beneficial creature. They eat other insects, and they don't eat your plants. So now obviously if you live in an area where there's a lot of poisonous spiders, you're going to want to be, of course, more cautious. You know, if you see them in your house or it's poisonous, then you're definitely going to want to get rid of them. But for a non-poisonous spider that's outside, just leave them be. They're killing insects for you. So they're doing a good job. And you should know what their egg sacs look like as well. Because if you kill the egg sacs, you're going to end up with less spiders, and you're going to end up with more pests. So leave the spider eggs alone. So the last bug I wanted to talk about is the ground beetle. It's kind of an ugly, unassuming little bug, but that's definitely why I recommend those apps that I talked about earlier. You can take a picture of it, it'll tell you about the bug, it'll tell you it's not going to bother your plants, and it's just going to eat other insects, so it's best to leave it alone. But the main reason I wanted to make this video is because in order to attract these beneficials to your garden, you need a whole ecosystem for them. For example, behind me you're going to see that there are fruit trees and there are grass. Off camera over to the left is my garden where the tomatoes, onions, grapevines are. Behind the camera are my peppers, my herbs, and other shrubs. You have to create a home for these beneficial insects to live and breed and do what they need to do. Otherwise they're not going to be eating the insects and helping you out. You need that whole ecosystem. Recently I saw a picture of somebody's garden and it really surprised me. They had a big backyard that was completely barren, except right in the middle they dug up a little section and planted a garden. The problem with this is there's no place for the beneficial creatures to live. So what's going to happen is eventually you're going to get a pest that's going to find their way in there. They're going to have no natural enemies, and they're just going to start eating your plants, and it's going to become a huge problem. So you're going to have to rely on poisons and sprays and things like that, which not only damages the beneficial insects, or damages the pests, but the beneficial insects too. And it can damage the microbiology of your soil. So you really want to stay away from those poisons and sprays and stuff. It's much better to have a healthy ecosystem. Let Mother Nature take care of it for you. For most every bad bug, there's a good bug that's going to help you out. But you need to create that ecosystem to let them survive, and save the poisons and the sprays and things like that as an absolute last resort. Okay, well, I don't want this video to get too long, so I think I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to talk about the pests in part 2. So if you want to see that, like and subscribe, and I'll see you then.